Hello and welcome to Microsoft Hates Greg, the YouTube channel dedicated to MSHGQM. Now, for a tool that literally started out as it only exists because I had a funny idea for a blog article, but I had to write the tool in order to write the blog article. So, for that kind of a birth of a tool, I think it's come a long way. And this, as I promised in my last video where I introduced the Gamma version of MSHGQM. In this video, I'm going to be showing you how you can create your own custom quick measures that you can use with MSHGQM. So let's get started. So you can tell if you have the Gamma version because the icon has changed from the original. This is the beta version. The new icon uses the official MSHGQM, Microsoft Hates Greg icon here. So let's go ahead and launch the Gamma version, and you see that you have a custom file. And what you can do here is you can give this a path to a file. This file does not exist yet. Custom measures.json. And all I have to do is set that, setting saved, close and relaunch to load. So now if I close this and relaunch it, I've got my files stored here, right? But no custom quick measures yet because we haven't created this file. So let's go create this file. And I'm going to use my favorite text editing software, Notepad. And we'll just, all we have to do is make it a JSON file. So here we go. And we'll save this. Temp. And then what I call it, custom measures.json. Put this to all and save it. Okay, so now to get started with this, easiest way to get started is to use the official supported measures JSON file that exists that MSHGQM uses when it's displaying the calculations pane. So what you do is you would go and find wherever you installed MSHGQM. I'm using obviously my source code repository here, so I can go in here and say Microsoft Hates Greg's quick measures, and what you're looking for, I'm using the debug version. What you're looking for is the resources directory. Go into resources, and you'll see here we have supported measures.json and unit conversions.json. Don't worry about this one for right now. But for this one, you can open this with Notepad. And you'll see here, here is a full measure definition. This fully describes the measure, and MSHGQM uses this information in order to present the quick measure, all the controls for the quick measure and the code, etc. So this one happens to be a unit conversion for distance. But what we're going to do is we're going to look for, I'm going to choose, let's see, that's week ending. Let me get to the right one here. I want to get the weekday function that we use. So that's a pretty simple one. Here we go. So as you can see, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy this, and you got to be careful with the commas and all that with JSON. So I'm going to copy this one, go back to this guy, and paste it in. So now I have my custom measure, and I will call this custom weekday. And these first three right here, they all basically determine the grouping for the measure in the calculations pane. So I'm just going to create, say, custom. We'll save this. They all have to be the same. They all have to be there. Don't ask questions. Maybe I'll clean that up in a future version. Okay, so let's go ahead and relaunch Microsoft Hates Greg. And as you can see, custom weekday has now appeared under my custom group because I specified custom for the first three items, so it shows up in the custom grouping. These groupings can be anything, right? But now if I can use this, I can use it just like the weekday. So it shows up, it has an aggregation, has a date column, and has the return type. So if I go ahead and pick a date column, this only has minimum and maximum. So I generate it, and it works just like the weekday one, right? Simple. Now, if we want to customize it, we can do that. So as you can see, the reason why you get an aggregation here is because I have an aggregation keyword and I'm saying visible. Now, this can be anything right here. This could be, you can just type in garbage if you wanted to. It just has to have a value and just not null, right? And then for the aggregation type, there's a keyword where I can set it to say, I only want to show min and max. And so that's why this aggregation only shows minimum and maximum. Now, again, the tooltips are kind of your guide. So there's aggregation type. It's telling you those are the things that you can use. Now, if you notice, I didn't specify aggregation label, right? But there's an aggregation label keyword. It shows up because this is kind of a cluster, right? So all you have to do is mention that you want aggregation to be visible. It'll show the default value for the label. If you want that to change, right, it's pretty easy. Aggregation label. And I want my label to be choose min or max. Let's say it doesn't really matter. Let's go ahead and save that. We'll relaunch it. And yes, I really need a reload button. But now if I choose this, now the label says choose min or max. Right? So that's how all that stuff works. Now let's say so the column label, all you have to do is again mention column, and then this column grouping will show up. And I set the column label to say date column and choose a date column. That's why this says choose date column. Now the weekday return, that shows this weekday return type, which has your listings of 1, 2, 3, 11, 12, all the way through, right? But let's say that we want to modify this so that's a little bit more friendly. There is another control, and I'll show you how to find those, but there is one called weekday start. And what this does, this lists the day names as like Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, right? Okay, so what I can then do is I can modify my DAX code. And I could say, let's say, return a start equals and weekday start. Right, so that's the keyword that goes along with weekday start. Pretty simple. And what we can then do is say, let's say return type. Really need a var there. Now, since these are going to come in as Sunday, Monday, I really actually need this as a text, right? So I need to put double quotes around it. And since it's JSON, you have to escape the double quote characters, right, with a / character. All right, so let's say weekday return equals switch start. And so let's say Sunday, let's say it's, oh, I got it. Sunday. And I want that to be, so Sunday needs a return type of 1. We're going to need Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Okay, and that's going to be that. And then we're going to need to close our switch statement. And then let's see, let's just use, so 11, we'll use Monday, it'll be 11. Tuesday will be 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. And if I wanted to be consistent, I could make this 17, right? Whatever. There's some duplicates in there. Now, since I've introduced vars into this, I need a return statement. And I need to say this, instead of being weekday return, needs to be this return variable. As you can see here, this aggregation, this is coming from this dropdown. You can see that in the tooltip. So aggregation and then column. And again, you can see it in the tooltip. Column returns the full table and path, or and column, and it's, you know, single quotes around the table name and brackets around the column name. Now, table name and column name, those only return just the table name, no single quotes, and just the column name, no brackets. So that's a little bit about that. So now we need to, let's say, we need to adjust our notes here and say custom weekday function. And we can get rid of our hyperlink, but it doesn't really matter. It's just linking out to our there's 5 of these hyperlinks. There's hyperlink 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And they all have hyperlink 1 and hyperlink 1 text, or hyperlink 2 text. So there's up to 5 that you can include as far as that goes. All right, so we've got this created here. Let's save it. Let's reload our MSHGQM tool. Click on custom weekday. All right, so now as you can see, we have, instead of the weekday return, we have weekday starts on. And it has listing of the different days of the week. Let's go ahead and choose a column. Got that set, minimum's fine. And as you can see here, we've got weekday start, Sunday. If we change this to, let's say, Wednesday, there we go. We changed it to Wednesday. So there's your first example of a custom quick measure that you can create yourself. Let's do one from scratch, maybe, to maybe just explore a little bit more in depth. And now, again, since this is JSON, we're going to add one, so we have to do a comma there. And let's just make it easy on ourselves. We'll copy and paste this. All right, so we're still going to keep it under custom. We're just going to call this one custom calculation. And what we're going to do here, so the label, we're going to get rid of the label. And say it's visible. We're going to get rid of the aggregation type so that we get all of the aggregations. We have column label 1, column label, and we're just going to choose column here. Choose a column. Choose a column. We're going to get rid of this weekday start. We don't need that. And let's say that we want another aggregation and another column. The aggregations and the columns kind of go hand in hand. So we're going to say column aggregation 1, column 1 label, column 1. Again, actually, I don't really need these labels in here. I'll show you how that works without them. So column 1, column, and let's see, do we need it? Let's put a parameter in here. So let's say that parameter, and we want it to be start with a default value of 7. All right, so we got to make sure our commas are all correct. Get a comma there. And I'll show you a little bit more about how you can do the DAX code custom calculation. Let's just get rid of all this DAX code and we'll just write it from scratch. Let's say the first one that we're going to have is we're going to have a var. We're going to call it value, and we're going to make it just a sum of some column or some aggregation of some column. Oh, so that's that. And just imagine that, you know, these things are just all it's doing is doing a find and replace. And stick around to the end of the video. I'll show you some of the code behind that's doing this. And then we're going to have var value 1. And this one I'll show you how to X aggregation. So now this is going to, instead of some, you know, average and that sort of stuff, the X aggregation is going to be sum X, average X, etc. Now, because we're using this kind of we're using the sum X, we just need the table name and the column name. So I'll show you how that's used. So I'll do my table 1 name, X aggregation table 1 name, and we're not going to filter it or anything. And we're going to do a calculation of bracket, column 1 name. Then we'll multiply it by each line. We'll multiply it by a parameter. Param. Ta-da, looks good. And then for our return, we'll just return, value plus value 1. So I just wanted to show you, a little bit about using parameters. And I'll show you an interesting trick here because I know what's going to happen with this, but let's just get rid of this hyperlink stuff altogether. All right, so this should be a working, save that. And again, I really need to reload, launch this. And for some reason, they went away. That file save was showing up. Oh, I know. I have a mistake. So this is how you can tell when you have a mistake, is your custom measures don't show up. So somewhere in here, there's my mistake. I have a trailing comma. Yeah, good. Well, sometimes demo mistakes actually work out for the benefit. And also this is a mistake there. I can't have that as my last one. Again, fun with JSON, right? I think this all looks correct. Find out. Nope, still not correct. And this is the fun you get when you're working with custom. What is this? Custom calculation. Not sure where these came from. Is it because my JSON was screwed up? This all looks correct. There were some really weird things going on in here. All right, notes. Custom calculation, visible, comma. That all looks fine, comma, comma, shouldn't have a comma because it's the last one, shouldn't have a comma because it's the last one. There goes nothing. There we go. Now it's all fixed, right? So now our calculations show up. Now when I click on custom calculation, as you can see, I've specified aggregation, I've specified column, and then I've specified parameter, and I've specified aggregation 1 and column 1. Now we can use this, right? This will all work. And we'll just choose out of table 4. And then we'll choose out of column 2 out of table 4. And if we hit generate DAX, there we go. We have table column, and then we have table column times parameter 7. We change our parameter to 10, generate the DAX. Now it's 10. Now, what you might notice is that, well, it's, the order of these isn't optimal, right? I really want to have my, set my aggregation in my columns, and then have my parameter or something along those lines. So I'll show you a quick trick on how you can do that. Let's close this, go back to this. So the key is that, and I'll show you this in a second with the custom measure demo that shows everything, but there's an order in which these get displayed. Now, the easy way to do this, right? So it actually goes aggregation column parameter, aggregation column parameter, aggregation column parameter, and then all of the special ones are at the bottom. So when you have 2 columns or whatever, the easy way to fix this and put it in the right order is just use parameter 1 instead of parameter. You change this to parameter 1, change that to param 1, save it, relaunch. And now when I use my custom calculation, now my parameter shows up under my columns, right? So I use that trick quite a bit and that's kind of why you have 11 aggregations and 11 columns and 11 parameters available to you. So yeah, and it works just the same. So I mentioned this custom measure demo. This custom measure demo shows all of the various controls that you have available to you that you can specify by just essentially just flipping them on in the JSON. And again, there's week num return. So where's our weekday start? Yep, there's our weekday start label. label and weekday start, and there's the keyword weekday start, which we used in our very first custom measure that we created. So that's how all of this stuff works in a nutshell. I don't really think it's that complicated. It's really just dealing with the JSON. But I have some plans on to make this a lot easier. So in the Delta version, what I'm thinking about is creating checkboxes for each of these groupings. And so you'd be able to edit, enter a mode where you display those checkboxes. You write your DAX in here and say create the custom measure, and it would write out all the JSON for you automatically. That's kind of the next goal that I have for this. That in a nutshell is the custom measures. Now, there is some documentation out there. So out on the GitHub repository, in the README, I've updated this to be the Gamma version and all that. But down here, you'll see MSHGQM Gamma custom measure guide. And it kind of goes through and says, okay, you have to have this. And then it actually gives you all of the different keywords that you can use. So there's all of our configuration, measure ID, measure group. They're all required, DAX code, etc. Those are all required items. Aggregation label, aggregation, it shows you here are the various different variables that you can use when you turn these on. And so it has a listing and it goes through all of the various different items. And then it actually has the code for the custom measure demo, which gives you the example for all the different attributes and values that you can turn on, turn off, and then some actual code that uses all of the different things that different variables, right? And so what's going on here isn't super complicated, right? It's this ridiculous long. Here's the generate. This is part of the generate DAX, right? And so it's just doing a replace of all those different keywords with things that it's grabbed from the configuration panel. Not super complicated. And then the last thing I wanted to show you was kind of about this file is also available by itself. MSHGQM custom measure guide has the same information. And if you want to see what I'm planning coming up, you can look at the releases. And as you can see, I've got the alpha and the beta, and then the gamma and what we've accomplished, and then the delta. And here's items that I'm looking at for the next version. Add an editor for creating new custom measures. That's going to be the big one. And again, I kind of explained a little bit about my thinking about how that's going up, how we're going to do that. So anyway, that's kind of the video. If you have any questions or comments, if you want to see, you want another video on creating custom measures that goes even more in depth in terms of what you can do, we could do that one as well. Just let me know. Obviously, the holidays are coming up, and so I don't know if I'll be keeping up with the same video schedule or not. But that is creating custom measures with MSHGQM Gamma. Go nuts, if you come up with some, just email me the JSON file or put it in a comment somewhere in a YouTube video, or send it to me on the community forums, as a private message or something. Would love to see your guys' custom measures as well. And I think, we already have over 100 here in MSHGQM. We could easily get that up to, double, triple that number if we started having people collaborate and create these. I think it'd be really a cool thing. I really like where this is headed with MSHGQM. I like the fact that this could be a network drive, and so you as a person could work with an organization, and you could share custom measures that you're created to make sure that you're all calculating whatever it is you need to calculate consistently. Allow people to collaborate and create these custom measures and share them with other people. In future releases, at least probably between now and when Delta gets released, I'm going to be adding officially supported quick measures in the supported measures.json file. So out here on GitHub, I will just be releasing the supported measures.json file. I haven't done it yet, but I'll be releasing supported measures.json as an individual file here on the MSHGQM GitHub repository, and that way you can just download just the supported JSON supported measures.json file, replace the one that you have wherever you've installed MSHGQM, and they'll have the updated quick measures, right? So that's it for this video. Like and subscribe, and everyone have a good holiday.